In October 1973, the United States nearly lost the dollar, not to a war, not to a market crash, to a phone call from Riyadh. Arab oil nations had just launched an embargo. No oil for America. Prices quadrupled in 90 days. Lines at gas stations stretched around city blocks. The American economy, already wounded after Nixon killed the gold standard 2 years earlier, was bleeding from both sides. Washington had a problem with no obvious solution. Henry Kissinger flew to Jeddah in June 1974 with a proposal so elegant and so ruthless it would take 42 years before Bloomberg published the details. The offer was simple. America guarantees the survival of the Saudi royal family. Military protection, weapons, intelligence, forever. In return, Saudi Arabia agrees to one condition. Every barrel of oil sold to anyone on Earth is priced and settled exclusively in US dollars. The Saudi finance minister understood the mechanism instantly. Every country that runs a factory, flies a plane, or heats a home needs oil, which means every country on Earth now needs dollars first. America had just replaced gold with oil, and unlike gold, oil burns every single day. The agreement was classified. The king demanded total secrecy. The world kept buying oil, and with every transaction, without knowing it, every nation on Earth was quietly paying a tax directly to Washington. The petrodollar was not announced, it was installed. Here is something your economics teacher never explained. Every time Nigeria buys Russian wheat, the transaction happens in dollars. Every time Japan imports Indonesian coal, dollars. Every time Brazil purchases Chinese machinery, dollars. These countries have nothing to do with America. Their trade has nothing to do with America. But they need dollars to complete the transaction, which means they need to first earn dollars, which means they need to export to America or borrow from institutions that America controls. This is not trade, this is tribute. Between 1974 and 2000, the United States ran the largest consumption machine in human history. It imported goods from the entire world, and paid in dollars, it printed itself. The dollar was not backed by gold anymore. It was backed by the global need for oil, and oil was not going anywhere. The numbers are almost impossible to absorb. By 2002, the U.S. current account deficit had reached $500 billion per year. America was consuming $500 billion more than it produced, and financing it by printing the currency everyone was forced to use anyway. Any other country doing this would have collapsed within a decade. Argentina tried something far more modest, and its economy imploded in 2001. But here is the part that turns this from a finance story into something personal. Every country that could not earn enough dollars had to go to the IMF. The IMF is funded and controlled primarily by the United States. The loans came with conditions. Cut your subsidies. Privatize your utilities. Open your markets. The petrodollar was not just an exchange rate mechanism. It was the architecture of obedience. And for 50 years, not a single country found a way out. Before Saudi Arabia, there were others who looked at the petrodollar system and decided they wanted out. Their stories are not taught in schools, but they are the most important lessons in modern geopolitical history. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced that Iraq would sell its oil exclusively in euros. He called the dollar a tool of American imperialism. He converted the Iraqi oil reserve fund into euros. Western financial press called it eccentric. 2 years later, America invaded Iraq. The official reason was weapons of mass destruction. None were ever found. The oil sales were switched back to dollars within weeks of Baghdad falling. In 2009, Muammar Gaddafi proposed something even more ambitious: a single African gold-backed currency called the dinar that would be used to price African oil and replace the dollar across the entire continent. He had the gold. He had the support of several African leaders. He sent the proposal formally to the Arab League. In 2011, NATO launched a military intervention in Libya. Gaddafi was killed. The gold was never found. The African currency project died the same day he did. In 2012, Iran stopped accepting dollars for oil entirely and began building bilateral currency agreements with China, India, and Russia. Within months, The most severe sanctions in American history were imposed on Tehran. The Iranian economy contracted by 15% in a single year. 3 leaders, 3 attempts, 3 destructions. No country missed the pattern. The petrodollar did not need an army stationed at your border. The examples were enough. On December 9th, 2022, Xi Jinping landed in Riyadh. It was not a routine diplomatic visit. China had sent its largest delegation to the Middle East in its entire modern history. 300 officials, 34 agreements signed, and one conversation that Saudi state media reported in a single careful sentence. The two sides discussed expanding the use of local currencies in energy trade. That sentence was worth $10 trillion. 3 months later, in March 2023, Saudi Aramco completed the first oil transaction with China settled entirely in yuan. No dollars, no SWIFT, no Federal Reserve, just crude oil exchanged for Chinese currency through a system Washington had no visibility into and no control over. The Americans were not surprised. They had seen it coming. In 2020, Saudi Arabia had quietly reduced its holdings of U.S. Treasury bonds by $40 billion. In 2022, Riyadh refused a direct request from the Biden administration to increase oil production ahead of midterm elections. The kingdom that had protected the dollar system for 50 years was sending a message in the only language that cannot be misunderstood, the language of money. Then in August 2023, Saudi Arabia accepted an invitation to join BRICS, the same bloc that had spent a decade building payment systems specifically designed to bypass the dollar. Washington issued no statement, imposed no sanctions, made no threats, because for the first time in 50 years, America had no answer. The partner that made the petrodollar possible had just decided the arrangement was no longer worth the price. And unlike Saddam, unlike Gaddafi, unlike Iran, Saudi Arabia had something none of them had. An army America could not afford to lose. The dollar will not collapse on a Tuesday morning with a headline on CNN. It will not be a crash. It will be a slow and irreversible erosion that most people will only recognize 10 years after it has already happened. But the signs are not subtle anymore. In 2023, the share of global trade settled in dollars fell below 50% for the first time since 1974. Central banks bought more gold last year than at any point in the previous 55 years. China, Russia, India, Brazil, and now Saudi Arabia are settling bilateral trade in their own currencies with growing regularity. For ordinary people, the consequences are not abstract. When the dollar loses its monopoly on oil pricing, America loses its ability to export inflation, which means inflation stays home. American consumers, American interest rates, American debt costs all become dramatically more expensive. The country that spent 50 years living beyond its means on a system that forced the world to fund it will finally face a bill that cannot be refinanced. For the rest of the world, the picture is different. Countries that were strangled by dollar dependency for decades, forced into IMF programs, forced to hold reserves in a currency they did not control, will gradually find room to breathe. It will not be clean. It will not be fast. But the architecture of obedience that Kissinger built in that room in Jeddah in 1974 is coming apart. Not because someone destroyed it, because the partner who made it possible simply walked away.